G'day, I'm omdevaji, Sheshnag Yoga Center. What on earth is Kundalini? This video is about from science to Sanskrit. So I was thinking like maybe a subtitle for the What on Earth is Kundalini series, because the What on Earth is Kundalini series is a series of books, 4 books that I've written from 1998 to 2005, detailing my experience of having this phenomenal spiritual experience and then trying to work it out over the ensuing 7 years after it. So I documented it, and having a scientific perspective on life and being aligned with understanding life according to the literal interpretation or the scientific subject of physics, and also incorporating that into biology, then I come from a very scientific analytical perspective, which is also a bit spacey because of the way that my physiology works and my perception of reality. So basically I live in an everyday life, had a spiritual experience where I realised the unity of everything, and that there is actually a unified consciousness that is participating all around us. Immediately I experienced bliss and tried to express my bliss to other people around me. I was condemned and criticised and misunderstood, and all I really wanted was a bit of support and maybe a bit of encouragement or acceptance. There were a few people that were non-judgmental but couldn't validate me in the way that I wanted. So I actually experienced what humans talk about as heaven, the unified reality of all of existence. And I know from a retrospective perspective that experiencing heaven on this planet has actually put me through hell. It's actually created a situation where within the everyday confines of this culture, based on the economy and working with the perception that there's a unified spiritual reality that governs all of life relative to a person's own inner resonance, it's been very hard to function in those hierarchies that are governed around work and the economy and power and structure. And also from a relatable perspective, my brother said to me the other day, why don't you have a normal conversation? And I do sometimes, like I was talking about swimming this morning in the sauna. I've talked about the motorbikes, and sometimes I talk about the leagues, but I'm not really into that. But I try and talk about it in a way that other people can relate to it, and I feel like they think that I'm normal. But ultimately I'm not interested, because behind it I see this these big boys like owning gladiators, and then they play them like chess pieces on a field for money, and it's all to do with this economy that I'm really struggling with because of my experience of heaven. So it's really created a very uncomfortable life for me. In that, because of my inability to find validation, I spent a lot of time isolating myself and ostracizing myself from everyday experience of community and connection. And I also went in the feminine path, down the path of isolation and smoking too much pot, because that gave me peace of mind, but it also gave me a stillness in my mind where I could interpret the reality of being and then question that on a very minuscule level. So in that, I found that it's actually been really painful for me in regards to fitting into the paradigm that's based around the scientific revolution, the industrial era, and the 5-day working week and the economy. I'm at a point where I really want to participate in that part-time, but I think I can do it stably in a way that I have been for quite some time, where I consciously participate in it in a part-time experience, but not overcook it full-time, which is detrimental to my own psychological and emotional well-being. So the craziest thing that I find on this planet is, if you don't have the support and backing and community of the connection of spiritual people around you, then if you flip out and experience the unified reality and underlying substratum of all existence, then you might not have the assistance or the help around you to be able to deal with it. I made a couple of brash decisions. Like, I moved away from my parents 20 years ago, and that'll be one of the decisions that I really don't feel comfortable with in my life, but I feel like I live in the right place now. But I'm unhappy that I spent the last 20 years of my life not around the corner in the suburb, or maybe 2 hours from my parents where I could visit on weekends and be a functional part of that life. And I also downloaded all my assets straight away, and like, I had this fixed mortgage. I paid my mortgage out, paid $8,000 just to get rid of the debt, whereas if I was more sound around the experience, then I could have at least had support and guidance by mentors that were knowledgeable in the field, not the field of spiritual illumination, but mentors I could have been stable in my spiritual illumination, because maybe it could be a common thread that this experience happens, rather than if it happens, people don't know what it is and they're confronted by you, and then you go into a psych ward because people think you're crazy, and then you get medicated. I've never had the medication, and I've never been in the psych ward, because I believed what happened and I knew I could work it out. But following that experience of being blown out of my body, I made some rash decisions, just packed everything and moved, sold everything and moved. And that's created hell for me. Financially, emotionally, energetically. It's been quite confronting. I'm on this journey of where I'm like late 40s, and I'm trying to go, okay, well, what's the best way to go about it? The best way to go about it is to be comfortable with who I am. Know that this cosmos, the consciousness of the cosmos, is actually being experienced and expressed through this anatomical framework. In that, to have a calmness and a peace of mind to do with, okay, well, this is my expression, and then everyone else is their expression. And sometimes my filtration system, through judgment and the need for validation, gets confronted. But if I can accept myself and my expression of that consciousness, then I can accept other people's expression of that consciousness and realise that their expression is relative to the energetic vibrations in their being, and mine's relative to mine. And my vibrations have been put in there over lifetimes, this lifetime, parental, cultural, the company I keep. There's a whole lot of things going on in regards to why I express myself in a way that I do. And no, I can't have a normal conversation, because ultimately I'm going to ask the person that I'm talking to what's their passion, and then try and gain information on that, because I love to gain information. I don't want to talk about some football team that I'm not interested in. That information's wasted on me. The whole identity of some fake emotional investment in a team that I call mine, it borders on insanity, but it's encouraged, because if you go down and watch the violence, then you can drink alcohol to make it easier to enjoy the violence. But I don't drink a lot of alcohol, and I don't enjoy too much violence. I like precision, but I don't like the glorification of violence too much. So it's really weird, but I found that I've actually gone through hell in regards to experience a dimension of life that is talked about in every philosophy and every religion on the planet, and then ultimately not endorsed in a culture that's based on the economy and working so hard. I don't know where to go with it. I do, actually. Where I've got to go with it is into an expression of fullness. And that fullness is hard work. The fullness comes from being aware, being conscious. How do I become conscious? Or how do I get past all those niggling vibrations in the back of my energetic field that want to influence me, that's whispering in my ear to do with comparison and insecurities and self-worth issues and everything to do with what's experienced this way, combated by stuff or enhanced by stuff coming this way. And I'm sitting there going, how can I be still? How can I be appreciative of me? And how can I, as a person, be in my own fullness and acceptance that if I'm in the spiritual community, can I actually be me? Or do I have to dance like a dancer? Or do I have to paint like an artist? What exactly is going on for me? You know, I don't know, but I do know how to come into my fullness a little bit more now, after a year and a half of actually doing some practice in regards to taking responsibility, breathing, feeling. It's been quite traumatic, and it's the hardest thing that I'll ever do in regards to the present moment, and learn to feel. So it's very, very interesting of how do I come into fullness within my own being, and more so, how do I interact with someone else who's in my life and remain in that fullness when I get invalidated and confronted by how they're representing life. Anyway, just wanted to talk about how if your Kundalini does awaken, then you experience heaven, the unified reality. But then you come back and experience hell, which is a massive purging to do with getting rid of all the vibrations that aren't the truth, to align yourself with an embodiment of unity and an embodiment of love. Anyway, just talking shite. Omdevaji, Sheshnag Yoga Center, Sheshnag Mandir. What on earth is Kundalini? Share the world.